Hello out there everybody, retro coders, gamers. Got another quick series or session in the beginners series. This is session 10. This is all about arrays, and the reason we're going to look at arrays is we want to make a spawner which will spawn multiple enemies of the same type. We're going to basically create our own data type which we'll be able to use in a loop or in other ways to iterate through all of them and manipulate them how we want to, i.e. in this session we're just going to randomly give them an x and a y value each one and draw them. We're not even going to look at collision detection. That's the next lesson. Let's go ahead and see where we were when we finished off. Of course, they're all available on YouTube. There's a whole playlist of this series. There's other playlists as well. This one's right at the top of the home page there. Well, it certainly should be. And here I'm just going to copy the path and get to find the right place in PowerShell. I'm going to compile it, so we've definitely got this version. It's compiled okay. Oh yes, we added sound. And other than that, everything's moving about as normal. Okay, well the first thing I want to do, we've had the sound. I'm going to comment that out with my compiler, with my extension in VS Code. Control and K, highlight, comment to all the highlighted areas. So now we're not going to have any sound when we start. Another thing I did was I made some extra oh god, we haven't got it open in here. We've got our UDGs. For some reason I had this one here. We're not using that. I think I was demonstrating how you can just have more than one. So we end up using that one, which is at 0x91 in our code, because we set it up as a UDG. Right there. So 0x90 is that. And we're not going to use it. But I've made some other ones. Basically, I've left that as it was. Our main character is now like a ninja face, with only his eyes showing. He just looks a little bit better. And this is meant to be a ninja star. Alright? It's an 8x8, you don't need to, it's just for demonstration purposes only. I really hope you'll be more imaginative and you'll be able to come up with something better. I came up with this very quickly. It looks okay. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you what I've done. I've added us another UDG. I also changed the appearance of this one. So now if I run the game, no sound, and look, he looks more like a ninja. He's like, well, he just looks funnier. Okay. Anyway, we want to make an array of ninja stars. And straight away we can add a ninja star here. Ninja star sprite db ox92. And we're not going to move these ninja stars, they're just going to be sat there for you to collect. Eventually we'll probably put a timer on them so they disappear. But we're not, that's a long way ahead. We want to just, all this lesson about is about spawning them and using the array. So let's create the array first. When you create this, you want to have in mind, you want to try to have in mind all the data you're going to need that makes up a ninja star. You don't need all of it. Like for example, the bitmap here is separated. But all the properties, like if it had a speed and a size and a location and a value, you know, you might have a money value or a points value. Also a very common one which we'll be using is a sort of is alive bool. 0 is it if it's going to be shown, and 1 if it's live. You know, 0 if it's collected and it doesn't want to be shown or collided with. But here's what I came up with just for our simple ninja star. So I'll leave myself some space for a comment. Ninja stars data. Call it whatever you want. I'm going to put a colon because what I'm doing is I haven't put, you could have put colons on there, but there's only one byte being defined. I didn't need to bother with that. For some reason I've got into the habit, but for this I do. I don't need it, but I want it there. And in fact, let's do the comment first. What I've done for a comment is I put data format, right? This is the format we're going to store our ninja star data. Byte 0 will be 0 equals not alive, 1 equals alive. Byte 1, sorry. We start from 0, of course. This makes it easier to work out later. That's going to be our X position. Byte 2 will be our Y position. Now, like I mentioned in my other lessons, the Specky does a few things where Y is the first one in the calculation. And it's a bit complicated to understand why, but to do with well, I'm not even going to try to explain it and confuse things. But that does happen sometimes, so just bear that in mind. You know, if you find things aren't working the way you should, maybe you should look at whether you could switch these around. Anyway, that's our format. We only need 3 bytes per ninja star. I'm going to make them all alive to start with. And I'm going to make them all 0, 0. We're going to have 10 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here's where this trick I'm about to show you works, as far as I know. But I completely made this up. Hello, Moz, mate. Yeah, I'm going very well, thanks, mate, and I hope you're well as well. Glad to have you with me, man. Yeah, I was just saying, this trick I'm about to show you with arrays, I've never seen it. I made it up completely. So I hope that if this is wrong, someone one day will comment and tell me what I'm doing wrong. But for me, this seems to save a loop. It saves having to put a value into a register and loop through it. Instead of that, what I do is I put db255, okay, at the end of an array. This probably is available online as a technique. I just created it though one day when I was looping and I suddenly realised I could do this. Now, as long as I don't ever want to use 255 in that first byte, I can just check straight away when I'm iterating if it is 255 and then get out of there. So before I was doing especially for nested loops, I was having to fill 2 registers and push and pop and all sorts of stuff to make sure I had the right value to loop. But this saved all that, so maybe it's like a microscopic bit slower and it also uses this 1 extra byte of data, but I'll show you how it works in a minute. What should I actually do next? Well, we're not going to move it, so let's just draw it. That would be the naive way. And in fact, that's probably all we need to do for this lesson. But we want to be able to spawn it first. So the trick to that I done anyway is after you've declared the array and finished it, Ninja stars spawn complete. Like, maybe there's a better way of naming that, but it says what it is. And I'm going to put db0. Okay, that's a bool. Well, it's not a bool actually, it's a whole byte. Again, if an expert can ever tell me, I find it's quicker for the processor to make it a whole byte, even though I only really need 1 bit. But maybe someone can correct me on that one day. So this is 0. So we'll go to our main function, which is actually really cluttered because we're doing it specific here. We'll display our sprite last because then he'll always be on top. We want to load A with that value I just made. What was it called? Ninja star. Spawns completed. There we go. And compare it to 0. So if it hasn't been completed, or initialized, I should call that. Stars initialized. That's better. Prefer that. Okay. Really, actually, I should probably show you another convention you sometimes see, which is prefix it with a B. Why not? Which means it's a bool. If it is 0, we're going to want to call a function that we haven't yet created. Called spawn stars. Let's pop it right around and named. Call Z because that means it's equal spawn stars. This one's going to get complicated because I'm going to show you how to do that iterating through an array. My version's not very complicated actually, I don't think, but obviously I wrote it, that's why I don't think that. But first thing we want to realise is ix must equal that data that we created. It wants to point at it. as I said when I was just describing that 255 bit, we can simply load A with that IX. Now that points at the first one, and if it's 255, we would say yes, return. However, we do actually want to not return. We want to end spawn loop, because what we want to do is we want to load A with 1 simply to change that bool. Oh. Huh. Why am I not showing up? Oh, it's B. Change that to 1 and then return. If we didn't have this and we just for some reason just spawned it anyway, maybe we only need to do it once at the very beginning or whatever, and you don't need that. Anyway, that's the easy way of making sure it only happens once. So now anything in here is going to happen. Yeah, this is basically what we want. This is the meat of it. We're now into our data. It's not 255, so it must be either 0 or 1 or something that isn't 255. So I'm going to now just do the same thing, load A with IX, compare 0. In fact, tell a lie, that's where I want to jump. I was talking rubbish a minute ago. We do want to return there. Of course, I was jumping ahead of myself. So that's going to get ignored on the first passes all the way until the end, and then it will return. If not, we're just going to check it's 0, because 0 means it's already been collected. Again, to be honest, in spawn stars that's not even needed. As long as we make sure they're always 1. That's only to check if it's been collected or not. Can't have if it hasn't even been spawned. I like that. Comment that out, it's not even needed. This is where we get to the nitty gritty. Have we got a random function? Yeah, get random. We are working in character cells. Obviously random is up to 255. So for the width, we can simply make it 0 to 31, which is that. We'll mask out the upper 3 bits. 0 to 31 width. And this is what I was talking about earlier, it's backwards to the way I've done it, so I've had to pop the width into the Y, which was really annoying. I just need to redo my comment basically, where the data is. So our width is going into what I've called Y, which is annoying, but in fact right now I'm going to change it. Why have I called it width up there? What the hell am I doing? Screen width. Yeah. I'll probably confuse the issue even more doing this, but there we go. So now our X is getting set. Now, this one caused me problems earlier. There's no real way, but it has to, like, when we're using UDGs, as far as I can tell, you can only go up to 22 or 0 to 21. So the highest number we can get and put into IX1 is 21. Now, I'm not a mathematician. I know a little bit about these bitwise operations, but I don't think there's any way of just limiting it to 21. Now, the only way I could think of was limiting it to 15, and then there was another one to 7, so even that is 22. We'd have to then reduce one of them by 1 or something to make sure it was below. So that would be a way of doing it, but in the end I settled with only allowing 15, 0 to 15. But we are full range there of 0 to 15. So I could have got 21, but it would have limited us to only 4 possible outcomes for the Y position. So what I've done was that gives us 0 to 15 of screen height. It seemed UDG only allowed 0 to 21 max. Because it's 24 characters cells height, so I assumed I could go up to 23. But when I tried that, I got an out of range error. Anyway, I settled on that in the end. I could have done something like this. In fact, I think you have to do that, and then it will compile and run, but you only get 4 outcomes. But it does fill the whole height of the screen then. Anyway, so I hope that makes sense. All we've done is get the random number and reduce it down to them ranges. And this time we'll load IX1 with A, but I forgot to put A there at the end. So yeah, we've loaded our array, we've pointed and shuffled along, which is a special skill of these I registers. There's IX and IY that can do this. We're able to use a constant after that to shifty up a few bytes. And obviously, as long as we know the order, we can deal with it. After that, because obviously you can't just increment IX because there's 3 bits of data. Now we could just increment it 3 times, but it's better to make a constant for that. So down here, I'll put it right there. Ninja Stars data length EQU constant 3. Now obviously if you add some, you're going to have to remember to change that, which is something I don't like. I'm used to being able to write software programs that you do it all in one place. You can't seem to do that with assembly. Again, I hope I'm wrong. Maybe someone can give me some tips on that. I hope everyone's following what I'm doing with that. And obviously this is obvious. 3 means there's 3 bits of data. So yeah, so we'll load. We can choose any register really. I've chosen DE with that constant. So DE now contains 3. And we can add IX DE. That just moves IX3 along in the pointer. We now just want to jump back Okay, so that's what we just done. Pretty simple, really, and that was more than it had to be because of these randoms. You know, some games you'll have a massive array of data, but you'll already know all the data in advance, then you wouldn't have had to do that. You could have just popped in all the positions there manually. Now, unfortunately, I could probably run this, but we won't be able to see anything. Double check it compiles would probably be a wise thing to do. Making sure I'm even calling it. Yeah, so we're checking, are we initialized? If we're not, we're spawning. And down here, when the loop reaches the end of the loop, you know, that special signal in the data, it jumps to the end and changes the initialize to 1, so the ball is now 1, returns. So I'm expecting that to compile, do nothing on screen. Oh, I've done that again. Yep, well, it compiled, so we're looking good. Where is it? Here. So all we need to do, we're not going to be moving them. So we're not even going to be deleting them yet, because that'll be coming when we do collision. So we're going to look at making a Drawstars function. The same will apply, where I'll just copy and paste that for good measure. And actually a lot of this is the same, because we're doing the exact same trick with the array there. Do now want to check if it's 0 this time, because we don't want to update it or draw it if it's dead. Same variable, just checking a different value. That's not right, that return. I did that out of habit. I don't know why I wrote that. It's completely not needed. Drawstars, if it's dead, we're going to want to do the jump thing, aren't we? Funny, I've got some code I wrote already that works, and I did use return Z there, but no basic. Yeah, I was actually thinking that it's that channel 2 thing. I open channel 2, but I don't really know what it does. So I'm guessing there's 2 characters that are channel 1 at the bottom. That's what I did assume. Yeah, good point. We shouldn't return out. I've written this code and it works, and it returns out there, but that's absolutely wrong, isn't it? We don't want to return out the entire loop. I'm going to change this to being called end spawn stars. Wait, that's not even in use, is it? I actually don't think that's needed. However, on this one it is. Jump Z means if it is equal to 0, we're going to jump down to here. Oh, wait there. Yeah, that was needed up here. Let's undo all that. Because there's the return there, but we're going to do the draw a bit differently actually. So I'm going against the code I've got that works. So, yeah, that just signifies it did reach the end of that array. We don't need to do that with draws. I was right the first time. I'm absolutely stupid. I'd done it in a rush before work and it worked perfectly, and then I'm here now with all the time in the world and I've just messed it up. But basically you do need to return Z. We just don't want to draw it if it's dead. It's as simple as that. I don't know why I got that wrong so badly. No, again, just messed up. What we're doing now is we're going to put we're using it, we're doing inline what this set position does here, which is it calls RST16, which is a type of call. That is, it calls the 16 the run routine that's built in, which but we're feeding it this ASCII at this special command. Therefore, we have to give it the Y and the X, like I was talking about, comes through backwards for some reason. But instead of filling DE and calling set position, we're just doing it in line. Again, the code. Where is it? So just reading my own code, sorry. Oh, we are going to call set position. I don't know. Thought I did it in line, but obviously decided not to. So we just load A with our X location. Although we switched it around now, didn't we? I think it's that one. So I'm giving it, yeah, that's our Y now, isn't it? Yeah. So that goes into D. The X, it's backwards, goes into E. Now we'll call set pos, which tells us that it wants DE is YX. And that does that special ASCII at code. So we're now, our cursor, as it were, is sitting at the right location. Put the data of your sprite bitmap, the actual data, into A. Remember, this is only applying to UDGs, and you won't be using them very often in main games, I don't think. More for a UI, maybe. RST16 sends that command down to it. So we've set the position, we've loaded the accumulator with the Ninja Star sprite data, and then we've done RST16. And it's simply that easy. But then we have to do our same trick here with the data length and add IX to DE. It's just incrementing the pointer. Jump back. Here we don't need a return statement because it will eventually return when it hits there. I'm a little bit concerned about this return here. I'm very concerned about that return, because let's say the first one dies. That's never gonna get called again, is it? It'll just return as soon as it hits that first 0. Yeah, so we definitely do need to jump down to here. So I'll do Drawstars underscore go next, and then jump Z, Drawstars underscore go next. So if it finds a dead one, it just goes to the next one. That's much more, that seems to make sense to me. Okay. I think we should change our background color as well, because we messed around with this constant and it's not the right light. We wanted blue ink and yellow paper, but as you probably noticed, we've got like white ink and pink. We just done that as a mess around. And that's in our constants file here that we created in another lesson. And as we see, I mean, for a reference, I'll do it again. Attribute bit, attribute byte equals FB, flash and brightness, paper, 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 ink, ink, ink. So we've got 110, which is 6. And I've got a cheat sheet which shows me that 6. Oh, 6 is in fact yellow. That's strange. Huh. I mean, I sorted this problem out earlier, before I came online on my other one. Let me have a look what I've got in my other one. Oh, that's because I just opened the file from my new one. We're looking at the new version there. So let me close that. Because the one you should have, if you've actually followed along with this course, doesn't look like that. It looks like, oh, perhaps I just changed it without remembering, but that looks right. Well, let's take a quick look at the paper. 011. That's 3, which is pink. So we've got pink paper, and we want yellow paper. So to get yellow paper, we want 110. To get blue ink, we want 1001. I wish you could do that. I don't know if you can. Be creative at work, but I don't think it will. I'm not even going to try it. But anyway, I've now corrected that. Should be the right colours. Let's have a check. Yeah, there we go. And that's a lot more like my local football team, Torquay United. They've got the exact same colours as those. They probably made their kit on an ZX Spectrum, actually, to be honest. Right, so anyway, I always get sidetracked. Now, it's compiled okay. We've changed the background. It didn't draw, as you just saw. We're pretty sure we didn't even call this function. And I reckon that's all we have to do. So we'll spawn them here. I mean, that could go much higher up. It doesn't actually matter. the code's written in such a way that you could actually call the draw function first and it wouldn't matter. So do we need to do anything other than load ix? Let's double check what I did. No, as I suspect, yeah. So all you have to do is load ix with the pointer. The same one we've already done. In fact, that's going to need to be loaded up there. We haven't loaded ix here, we need to do that. Ninjastars data pointer. Do the same thing again here. And just call our draw function. No need for any comparing because that's all done inside the function. I'm pretty confident that'll work. I mean, I'm going off a working example, but that working example was a few more lessons ahead. The goals, haha. Newcastle. No, wait, there's some weird stuff happening with Newcastle right now, isn't there? Like, half the fans want this, I don't know, some people are saying they're like criminals or something. I only catch little headlines here and there. Yeah, the goals are doing terrible, but I'm used to it. Look at that! Look, we've got some random spawning going on in these Ninjastars. For some reason, our characters now not getting drawn. That's new. That is odd. Wonder why that is. In my other code, it works fine. It's all very messy. Yeah, it will be. I mean, I'm also an Arsenal fan, and that's pretty shambolic. But, you know, they've needed defenders for like 15 years, and the multi-billionaire owners say they can't afford it. Then they go and spend like 100 million on a striker they don't even play or something. You know, they're crazy. Wondering why my guys. I can't imagine why he's not. You know, set post. Yeah. In case anyone wonder what I've done, same thing. It's loading. I load DE with the Y pos. It automatically gets the X pos in there. So that's the next bit of data, and that's a 16-bit memory address or register, I should say. You can have all ours. I actually am looking forward to the new season for Torquay United. I'm really sad for them because we got promoted back into the National League. We've been down and down and down. Went back up, and then we were actually pushing for the playoffs. Like we were only 10 points off with 2 games in hand, you know. But then they wrote us off because of that, and then coronavirus and all that. They just looked at the points raw, I think, and just said your season's over. You know, you had to be in the top whatever to get it, even though we had games in hand. So a bit unfair, really. But I reckon next season we're going to smash it. To be honest, I would like to. You know, I might even put a few bets on them. I'm concerned here though that my sprite isn't drawing. I'll try and compile now. I've just made that small change. I don't think it's going to fix it though. Oh, in fact, it's out of range. So we've got an error. That's fine. See, now you never quite know what's the error is. Could be this. No, it's still error. It's only something out of range. People are probably going to laugh their head off at this, but I found like a funny way of debugging for me. Just call that make G sharp sound. If you need to see a bit of code is reaching a certain area. Sometimes that's all you need. I think what I'll do straight away, comment that out. Let's see if we still get the out of range error. Yes, we do. I've done something stupid because it was working fine a minute ago without this. Still out of range, see? This is my noob style debugging when I haven't got a debugger for the spectrum. Like that works. So I've done something in the actual player sprite somehow. See, even that compiled fine. No errors. So everything. This is the only bit that's causing the error now. Why pause? 0. How can it be out of range? One of the ninja stars escaped, yeah. Yeah, but, oh, did you count them? Hang on, let me have a look at that. I think they're all there, actually. And they're all in range. There's no error now when I take the player away. 2, 6, 10, yeah. And I could, that's definitely working, that array, which was the main point of the lesson, but I'm definitely going to have to get that player away. I mean, look, I could do another 5, for example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should have 15 ninja stars now. That's how simple that is. Which is good. Oh, out of range now. Hmm. Hmm. Try that out. Oh, well, my head's spinning from that. I mean, the temptation here is for me to copy and paste my working one. But I've tried to do it in order of how I did it. Oh, it is that. We won't get the out of range error now. Yeah. Yeah, and I can put as many of these as I want, I think. Yeah. Yeah, see, that is definitely not out of range. There's something going on the top. Zero. Oh, that's nothing to worry about. I mean, that score's just there for the fun of it. Yeah, how odd, because I never changed anything in the player. So the only thing, the problem exists in these three lines, which obviously, even the functions it calls are only small. Display sprite, load A with player sprite. Yeah, which is even lower than Ninja Star sprite. I've done set position there, the same as there. Yeah. I mean, I'll get rid of the score for now because we don't need it. Try putting it back. I can't see the score having any effect at all. Get out of range. So, why is it out of range? Something in set position then, must be. So weird. That is so strange. I mean, just for a second, I've saved everything here. I'll open up my other one, which I've renamed just slightly. So this is the other one that does work. So if I get this path, it's the exact same thing. I thought I'll have to try and find the difference, but I didn't notice any errors. And there he is. Oh, I did it after the sprite, so something's happening to. I mean, they need to be flipped around. It's not making any difference because they're both 0. The only difference I can see is the order. Oops. Okay, so we're back into the correct one we're working on. Oh, getting the error again. I don't see why that would make any difference, and it doesn't. In fact, now we get, yeah, even less. That's mental. That makes no difference. Sometimes it's something stupid and it ends up the data isn't what you think you're getting. But I can't see how that's happening here. It just can't make any difference doing this. But let's just try that for a second, but that's not going to work. No. And neither is this. I'm just trying to see the tiny differences we've got in the code, and the one that works and the one that doesn't. Oh wow. Okay. I'm pretty sure we'd already tried something similar to that, but for some reason it works now. So expos, ypos. That's weird, because when we had ypos, expos, and then we loaded it with ypos, it didn't work. That's actually backwards now though, isn't it? If I mean, we can forget what we did with the Ninja Stars. This is actually a separate issue, isn't it? So maybe it will work. 8 by 8 or 8 by 2. Perfect. Okay. Oh, I managed to make a mountain out of that molehill. It's been going exactly 1 hour. Really, it should have been much shorter. I may actually one day come back and do one, or even do a recorded one to replace this. But obviously, the very next lesson we're going to do, we're going to be able to collect them. Because at the moment they just, share space. Very easy to do collision detection on UDGs because obviously they're locked to the grid. So you just compare the X and the Y and they're both equal for a collision. When you get more advanced, you do collision prevention. So you check in advance if the collision will occur and you don't allow the movement if it is. I'm going to slow the player down as I move too quick. Now, I'll be straight. I've got 2 projects that I've made with this game behind the scenes, and the last one, this one and the last one, where only the collision detection only works when you're moving for some reason. This one I tried to be independent of it completely, but for some reason that problem still occurred. So I'm working my way around that. Hopefully I'll have that done. I've got a day off tomorrow, so hopefully I'll get that done tomorrow. But like I said, I've got working collision detection here, but for some reason it's only when you move, no matter what you do. But like I say, we'll also do the collision prevention, which is a very good way of doing collision, stopping people if this was a brick wall. But I want to do collision triggers so that we can walk over it and collect it, and without having to hold the movement button. Yeah, debugging is fun. I will certainly have this uploaded to YouTube. I never hide anything away or anything like that I've done. It's all part of the learning process, isn't it? But maybe this could be more concise. It was supposed to just be about iterating through this loop and the 255 thing, but I ended up doing the debugging alongside it, which, like you say, it is useful. Seeing how people work out these problems. We finally got there. It was a weird answer with that. I still don't quite understand what was wrong with it. At one point, I thought we had the same thing. But I'd love to come back and do the collision detection now, but I worry about how it will not work fully, and then I'll get a load of comments saying, "Oh, why doesn't it work well?" I mean, it even appears like it's not working unless you know how to manipulate it. So I don't know why though. I check it every frame. I check every frame, is the X the same and the Y, and if it is, the collision occurs. But you have to be moving. That's the weird thing. Yeah. Next up, I hope anyone's in the mood for some gaming, because I'm going to come on with Outrun Europa, which was a game I had on the cassette. It was definitely one on the Commodore that I owned, and it's a really superb racing game at the time. I loved it. I'm going to try it out. I haven't tried this since I was very, very young, probably under 8. So, it was in the 80s still, maybe, or the very early 90s. Yeah, I'll wrap this one up here and pretty much come straight back on. I'll just make a drink and sort out the little side bits of the channel and then come back on. Hopefully I'll see you there. Thanks again for watching, Moz, and all your comments. They keep me going through these streams when they're getting a bit quiet, so really appreciate that, mate. And yeah, see you in a few minutes. Bye bye.